Save Earth says, tell us about the struggles of your life. Oh man. Wow. That's cutting it pretty deep. I don't want to get into too much detail about that. I'll say this, there have been many struggles. There has been loss. There has been excruciating pain. I can talk about, you know what, I can talk about some recent sort of struggles without getting too detailed or feeling too vulnerable about it. I do plan on sort of telling the whole story and everything, and just like real talk, just everything at some point, just not right now. But I'll say this. So in November, December of 2018, so about 2 years ago, I lost my job. I worked for a defense contractor, a startup defense contractor. So what does that mean? It's just a very small company that has contracts with branches of the military, like the Army and the Navy and this and that. And I was doing research and development on rocket fuels and propellants. So it's like, how people say like, oh, it's not rocket science. It's like, well, actually, in this case, it is rocket science, right? So I lost my job in a rather dramatic fashion. It was kind of out of the blue, unexpected. Wasn't expecting to lose my job, and then boom, I lose my job. Someone's asking me, why did I lose my job? I will just say that I had a debilitating health problem. I had a health problem that it's the same health problem that's sort of responsible for me not uploading for long periods of time over the years. If you look at my uploading pattern, I'll have like these short bursts of productivity where I'm like, really into it, making content. And then I'll have like, historically I've had like really, really long periods of time where I haven't uploaded anything. So I had this health problem, and I was out of work for about 3 months. Like I couldn't work. Like I was in such poor health that I couldn't work. And it took about 3 months to sort of, get over it and get better. And then, by the time I was better and by the time I was, ready to return to work, I was not welcome back. So, and this is in Florida, and I had to, I had to hit the job market, and I had to hunt, really hard. And when I say job hunt, I don't mean, sitting on my couch with a laptop, looking at LinkedIn, looking at Indeed, looking at all these job sites, applying online, submitting my resumes. Just a word to the wise, that stuff is generally useless. Like, people generally don't get jobs by applying to jobs online. People generally get jobs by actually knowing somebody who's in the field, in the company, in the industry, who can vouch for you, somebody who can walk up to that hiring manager and put your resume on his desk and say, or her desk, don't want to be, discriminatory here, and say, you need to hire this person, or, this person is good, they at least need to interview, because this is like, that's how most people get jobs. Some people do get jobs by applying online, but most people don't. But anyway, I'm kind of getting a little off topic here. So I was out of work. I had gotten better from a health standpoint, but I needed to find a job, and I was hunting so hard. I wasn't just applying to places online. I was actually going to places. I reached out to everybody that I know, everybody in my network, whether they had a chemistry background or not, whether they worked in any kind of lab situation or not. I reached out to everyone and told them all, like, I am desperate for work. I need something. Like, I need your help. I did that big ask. And that's another thing that's like really, really important in life, is to, when you're in that position where you need things from people, you have to sort of, it feels vulnerable, but it's something that you have to do. Whether, it's success or failure in life sort of hinges upon that. You have to swallow your pride, and you have to tell people, listen, like, whenever you need something and I'm in a position to satisfy that need, when I'm in a position to help you, I will repay the favor. But right now, I am in need. Right now, I need help. Right now, I'm in an ask situation, right? So the big ask, it's really, really important. So I asked everybody, you know, and I reached out and I networked and I talked to people and I had lunch with people, and, you know, I did phone interviews, I did in-person interviews. There were a couple interviews I did where I did 3 in-person interviews and I got rejected from all 3 of them. And so that's kind of, you know, getting rejected from an interview is kind of a blow to the self-esteem. It's like, you know, you put your best foot forward, you researched, you prepared for your interview, maybe you did some mock interviews, and then it turns out they don't want to hire you. It can kind of hurt a little bit, you know, I'll be honest, it kind of sucks, right? So, you know, got rejected by interview after interview after interview. And then I was on my computer and I was on LinkedIn, and I was scrolling through my feed on LinkedIn, and I noticed that the American Chemical Society was having their national meeting. And American Chemical Society national meeting is like this big sort of this big convention that they have twice a year. And like they have it twice a year. They have it, I think they have it in the spring and then in the fall, right? And so the spring American Chemical Society national meeting was happening, and coincidentally enough, it was in Orlando, which is where I lived. It was like a 30-40 minute drive away from my house. And so I'm like, crap, I got to get over there. You know, I got to get over there. I got to do some networking, and, you know, I got to meet people. I got to ask if they're hiring. I got to hand out my resumes. I got to hand out my business cards. Like, I have to just, you know, sell myself as hard as I can, just go hard at this convention, right? And so, you know, I went there, I bought my ticket. They had this career fair / expo. You know, I bought my ticket, I went there, I talked to everybody that I could, and there just happened to be a manager and a chemist from the company where I'm actually working now. And so I meet these people and they tell me, like, yeah, we work at this facility in South Carolina. And all the while I wasn't actually thinking, like, you know, even if I get this job, like, I'll probably not take it, you know, because there's a lot of logistical hurdles to overcome, you know, when you relocate to another state, right? When you pick up your entire life and move it 350 miles away. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that could be hard. There's a lot of reasons that you might think that that's not going to work. I can't do that, you know. But you know, I did an interview at this convention, right? And then you know, they called me. You know, I did some phone interviews with them, and then eventually they flew me out to South Carolina so that I could visit the site and do an in-person interview. I met the whole team and everything. But even after that in-person interview, I'm like, yeah, it's nice that they're flying me out, but I still probably don't think I can take this job. And then they offered me the job. And at that point it was like, man, like, what a great offer, you know, but of course, like, I have to run it by my wife, you know, like, this has to be a decision that we both make, you know, this is important. This is, you know, we have a daughter, you know, like and this is, you know, obviously this is before my second daughter was conceived. So not that makes a huge amount of difference, but I guess it was a little easier moving one kid than it would be moving 2, right? So and then they offered me the job, and then, you know, it turns out my wife is actually, like, on board, like, okay, let's do this. And so, you know, obviously there's a lot of logistical hurdles with that. You know, I moved up here last September. We didn't have a house up here. We wanted to rent a property, like, we wanted like a rental house, but we couldn't really find one that was reasonable and that would be willing to host a dog. Like, we wanted a rental property where pets were allowed because we have a dog. And, you know, we didn't want to lock down ourselves in like a whole year-long lease where we have to stay there for like a whole year, or we have to, like, pay a bunch of money to get out of it. And so, you know, basically what happened was I moved up here and started working, and I was essentially homeless. Yeah, I was bouncing around from one Airbnb to another. I lived in Airbnbs. So I would live in one place for like 2 nights, and then I'd, you know, drive over and you know, pack up all my stuff, and then, you know, live at this other Airbnb for a night. It was pretty expensive, but, you know, it was pretty crazy. But looking back on it, it's something that I can sort of look back on with some fondness and say, like, oh yeah, like, it was crazy, it was hectic, but, you know, it was kind of an adventure, you know, to start something new and to travel around. And, you know, I actually kind of made friends. Like, I actually built some friendships with these Airbnb hosts. They hosted me, so I would learn about them. They'd learn about me. I would play with their pets. There was this one family that hosted me at their house for an Airbnb, and they invited me to their church the following morning. And so I went to their church, and it was cool. Like, I don't know, it was just cool to travel around. Was it hectic? Yeah, I mean, I lived out of a suitcase for like 2 months. Driving from one Airbnb to another. Working and then just going to my next B&B. But so that's just one example of one struggle that I sort of went through. Obviously, I came out ahead of it, but I had a lot of support too. I had a lot of support from my wife, from my family, this and that. And now we're doing pretty well. We're in South Carolina. I make enough money at my job where like my wife can stay at home with the kids, and she's got her own like work from home business that she's doing with a former coworker, and she travels around and gives seminars and talks and stuff and trainings and stuff like that. So yeah, things are going pretty well now. But let's see.